Ahoy, ladies and gents, welcome to the BBC Spews Live on the 26th of April. Huzzah, here we are. Despite the evil remonstrations of my nemesis in Silicon Valley. Apparently, some people have been banned from liking my videos. That's weird, isn't it? That's weird, isn't it? My nemesis we won't say its name. I don't have the vocal cords this early in the stream. Suffice it to say, she's got a face like a plasterer's radio. She's got a head like a bag of smashed crabs. How's everyone doing? Oh, who's in? All the locals. Too many to name individually, but hello, everyone. Sadwings is in. Last time he bowed up, I crushed the stove, vent hood with my forehead, with his head between the two. Now when I say shut his mouth, he does. I have no idea who you're talking about there. I think I'm glad I don't know who you're talking about. Right, I've got plenty to talk about today because I've been listening to quite a lot of YouTube in the last 24 hours. I didn't have to work or anything. And I was listening to a lot of the usual suspects. I don't actually get through everything I want to listen to nowadays. When you're mega into politics, it's sort of hard to get through everybody you like, isn't it? I listened to Douglas Murray's podcast with Joe Rogan, though, in full. And that was as interesting as it always is. He's just a great speaker, isn't he? You know, I always suspected he's got a mate called Chris Williamson, who I quite like. But there's a lot of people who I think Douglas Murray's mates with. And he basically just makes them social media platforms because he's so good himself. He just sort of goes on their shows and instantly, whoever it is, gets 50,000 subscribers. So I've long suspected he's just like his mate who we met in like a gay disco. And I clicked on his profile yesterday for the first time, that Chris Williamson. And the photographs, I was like, he must be like his gay mate they must have dated at some point. But anyway, I'm not having a pop with Chris Williamson. I like him. He sounds like, you know how a lot of these people who get involved in media try and moderate the way they speak because you suddenly get much more popular especially with Americans. Basically, if you've got a posh accent, Americans instantly think you're clever and witty and urbane, which is why the Bootnecks resisted doing that. Because I like to think I'm just witty and urbane, regardless of how I say it. So even though I've got -20, like if this was like Dungeons and Dragons scoring system, I've got -20 to charisma. I'm like an orc with leprosy because I've got a strong Borough accent. But so I'm hoping that I can succeed despite it. I think I'll be the first one ever to have a broad northern accent and actually have any form of media presence. But I think Chris Williamson, by the sounds of it, he sounds like he's a Geordie, or at least from the northeast somewhere. And he's trying to hide it because he sounds like a Geordie trying to be posh. So I have got a soft spot for Chris Williamson. Anyone from the northeast is my mate. But I do think it's funny. There's a lot of blokes who seem to be they can make themselves into a media tycoon just off the strength of being mates with Douglas Murray. Because wherever he goes on YouTube, everybody follows, don't they? Because he's fantastic, Douglas Murray. He's not just a good writer, he's a good speaker, isn't he? And he's funny. When he actually goes on a rant, he's funny. He just doesn't rant that often because he's posh. Which, for those of you that are clever enough to watch me, are obviously sensible enough to know that you don't need to be speaking in a posh accent. You just need to be fucking right all the time. So let's crack on, shall we? I will briefly speak about this Johnson threatening to privatise the passport office because this is something I want to bring up. And I know a lot of you guys hate Margaret Thatcher, especially fellow Northerners, right? Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Sunderland, Hartlepool, basically anyone in the north. The town has been anti-Thatcher since she closed all the mines. But I've talked in the past about how she didn't get everything right, but on the balance of things, I think she did as good a job as she could have done at the time. Somebody was asking me how Thatcher can be my favourite post-war prime minister when I'm only 42. And I thought that was a bit of a stupid question, to be honest. Again, I'm not having a pop. I like people that follow me who ask me questions and disagree with me. I fucking love an argument. I even like it when my wife disagrees with me. I enjoy having a robust debate, so it's fine. But I thought it was a bit of a stupid question because almost nothing that we like has to be something that we live through its creation, does it? Like, I think that I said to him, my favorite general's like Caesar, and my favorite food's pizza. You know, and neither I wasn't around for either of those things to be either Caesar to be marching his legions across the continent of Europe, or the invention of pizza. But I can still like those things. And with regards to Thatcher, obviously, I was a child when she was putting about. But I think I've talked about it before. My grandmother was a big fan of Margaret Thatcher. And she told me, so it's a mixture of both my own learning and the messages you get on your granny's knee, which does stick with all of us, right? We always try to be logical and be self-aware enough to always challenge our own opinions. Constantly say to yourself, am I wrong? Is it possible I'm wrong? Again, something that the woke never do because they're crazy. they're an ideologue, left-wing ideologues like Ash Sarkar or AOC. They never ever question themselves on whether or not they might be wrong. And that's why they're as terrifying as they are, because only the true believer flies the plane into the side of a building. You know, nobody can ever accuse anyone who's willing to end their own life just because they're following an ideology of not being a true believer. You know, you can guarantee that when those planes hit the Twin Towers, the 20 fucking most devout religious people on those planes were the blokes that were hijacking them. You know, you might have some Christian preacher sat on the plane who's secretly questioning his beliefs. But when you're willing to mallet yourself into the side of a building at 1,000 miles an hour, you've just proved your devotion to the cause right there. And unlike the woke, I like to think that myself and anybody who considers themselves 2 steps right of AOC always questions their own opinions. People, Glenn Greenwald and many lefties in the last few years have proved that, right? That those people aren't ideologues. People who I like to follow, like Meghan Murphy and Posey Parker, sort of militant feminists, you know they come from the left. You know for a fact Posey Parker and Meghan Murphy were sort of bog standard Labour voters 10 years ago. The reason all these lapsed feminists have turned into public enemy number 1 to the woke is because they can smell their own, and they especially despise people that see the light. You know, there's a reason why the followers of Mad Mental Mo, the epileptic desert midget, there's a reason why the crime of apostasy, which is, for those of you that either don't read a lot of Richard Dawkins or don't play 40k, there's plenty of apostates in 40k. It's leaving your religion, right? The crime of apostasy, leaving the faith, is punishable by death. And again, the maddest thing about the religion of peace is that the people that talk about it all the time don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about it, and they still try and pretend they're informed on the matter. And this is what I've said before. I don't know everything about everything. Certainly, it's almost impossible in this day and age because you're expected to be able to wax lyrical about almost anything. And it's difficult, as I've just said. Like, I spend hours every day reading and listening to political theatre, which reminds me, you know, another reason, like I was talking about Thatcher, is Charles Moore's 3-volume autobiography. It was an official authorized biography. I don't even know when it came out. I read it years ago, but I read that book, and that's another reason why I'm into Thatcher. It's not just off me granny. It's educating myself. And I'm well aware, as again, you have to question yourself because Charles Moore's book was authorized by Thatcher. So obviously, if it's an authorized, or by the family, if it's an authorized book, then you could be getting a bit of propaganda, couldn't you? So you've got to always make your own opinions. But I like to think, from doing my own research in my adulthood, that's why I'm a big fan of hers, because she sort of straddled that line. She was not really a conservative. She's a socially liberal, libertarian type who's a big capitalist, who's a big fan of capitalists. And I think all of us, including me, that were born into a relative, well, not poverty. It's wrong to say I never missed a meal, but a single parent. My dad was a fucking welder, a steel worker from Middlesbrough. It's not poverty, not really. We all like to joke as if everybody in Middlesbrough lives in a wheelie bin, but that's not the case. I don't want to pretend I'm some sort of fucking lowly gutter snipe that went without meals when I was a kid. I didn't, but certainly nobody would ever be able to call me middle class or posh. So yeah, there's me sticking up for Borough. We don't all live in wheelie bins. That's the highest praise I can give to Middlesbrough. It's not as bad as you think it is. My missus joked about that when we went running one day. We were back visiting the family and we ran past the sign, "Welcome to Middlesbrough," because we were right at the top end of town, like Nunthorpe, when you're running down towards the town. And it says, "Welcome to Middlesbrough," sort of when you join from the North Yorkshire Moors and then enter Middlesbrough. And it visibly gets worse. If anybody knows the area, you come from York, if you drive into Borough, because I used to live in York, you drive down the A19. And if you stick to the A19, I always prefer that route. Instead of going all the way down the main motorway and then coming off near Teesside Park, I used to like the nice windy green field route if you follow the A19 all the way. And what you do is you come off the A19 and you go through like Stokesley and Grey and all these areas that are officially North Yorkshire still, the part of the North Yorkshire Moors. And then you get into Middlesbrough and there's a big sign there saying "Welcome to Middlesbrough," and it's visibly worse. Like, it's all green fields and cobbled streets and nice old houses in Stokesley and Great. And then as you've sort of crossed the invisible line into Borough, it's sort of like smouldering. And the sign says "Welcome to Middlesbrough," and underneath it says "Moving Forward." And she laughed and said to me, "It's funny, isn't it, that even the town motto sort of sounds a bit shit. Like, it doesn't say Middlesbrough, the city of arts and flowers," or something poetic. It says Middlesbrough, moving forward, which is basically saying we know it's shit, but we're slowly getting better. That's the town motto. So I don't want to make it like it's terrible, but that's just the way I've formulated my opinions over the years. And me granny, a Borough lass, told me that when she was young, she got 2 grants for a house under Thatcher. Although not young, she'll have been, what, in the fucking 50s or 40s maybe. She told me she got 2 grants for a house under Thatcher. I mean, Nana worked her whole life. She worked as a taxi driver. She worked in a shop. She just did working class jobs her whole life. And she got 2 grants off Thatcher. And she always said to me, clearly, Thatcher, she must have been checking the tax returns and going, has this person paid the way for a decent amount of time? If they have, we'll give them some fucking money. Right? And if they've never paid anything in and they're just chances, they shouldn't get any money, should they? Like, I don't understand. Something else that the woke always do and harp on about, thinking that it's going to win them plaudits among the working classes, and they don't realise that the working classes are socially liberal, but also conservative in regards to many things. Like I said, like crime and punishment and immigration. The woke they seem to think that the working classes are all see things the way they do. And if you ask your average fucking scaffolder if he thinks we should have open borders, or if he thinks, as a Guardian reader does, that when somebody gets caught wanking outside a fucking primary school, we can fix that problem by sending them on a course, sending them on a basket weaving course, followed by a fucking long weekend in Lightwater Valley. That's not what working class people think you should do with sex offenders. It's not. What they think you should do with sex offenders usually involves a wicker sack, a blowtorch, and a pair of fucking pliers. But Owen Jones seems to think working class people are all like, oh yeah, we need more money for the Mick Philpotts of the world. And working class blokes that have got some fucking self-respect worked the whole life. My dad was never on the dole. Never. His company went bankrupt. He used to work for a big steel erection company called Clarence Erection in Hartlepool. And then they went bust. And then he found another job working for another company. And then he found another job working for another company. I can never imagine him ever being on the dole. But he was rough, salt of the earth bloke, a borough lad, born and raised, who was a welder, because everybody who was born in the borough in the fucking 50s served the time on the steelworks at Middlesbrough, working in shit, which is another thing I've said about when these middle-class fucking Guardian readers that piss me off so much. My hatred and contempt for them is so complete because they presume to speak on my behalf. And they don't understand that we hate them. We hate them. People that scaffolders from Middlesbrough don't read The Guardian. They hate the people that work at The Guardian. But Owen Jones and Ash Sarkar and fucking Laurie Penny and all these other public fucking schoolgirls think they have some right to talk on my behalf. Well, you don't, because I think you're a fucking chopper. I think you're a throbber. I think you're a big, pulsing fucking bell end, and I hate you. And I've always hated you, and my dad hates you, because you're just a middle-class arsehole, presuming to elect yourself lord of the fucking poor people. Like the ones who talk for fucking Black Lives Matter and that. It's like, wouldn't you find it condescending if you happened to be black and you had some insufferable, woke, middle-class cunt constantly saying, oh, let me tell you what the black people think. Well, black people vote Republican. Black people are individuals, right? Do you not understand that? Just as Owen Jones can't speak on behalf of all the gay people, Desmond fucking Tutu doesn't speak on behalf of all the black people. These are immutable characteristics. It's like me speaking on behalf of everyone from Middlesbrough, which is a much, much, much smaller demographic. Owen Jones, all the gays. You know what I mean? Diane Abbott, all the blacks. My demographic's tiny. I'll go blue-eyed, pasty bloke from Middlesbrough, single parent. I don't speak on behalf of all those people. If you share those 5 characteristics, and that is an infinitesimally smaller number of people than all the blacks, or all the gays, or all the lesbians, or all the wheelchair-bound, disabled, fucking whatever you want to call it. It doesn't make any sense. It could be, like I said, it could be shoe size. I speak on behalf of all the fucking size 8 people. No, you don't speak for anyone. The only time you speak for a group is when you're elected to an official capacity. And even then, it's bollocks, isn't it? Because you're elected to an official capacity and 50% of your fucking constituents think you're a cunt. I mean, even more than that, right? In Britain, 95% of people hate politicians. Even if you vote for them, you think they're cunts. And yet, people like Ash Sarkar go, oh, yeah, well, I'll tell you what the fucking poor people think. You're talking bollocks. And this is why nobody likes them, because everyone with 2 little grey cells to rub together knows what they're selling is fucking bullshit. Nobody cares about this weird, as if everyone's a congealed mass and you can just get some twat to talk on behalf of them. It doesn't make any sense. Owen Jones is probably trending on Twitter because he talks fucking shit constantly. And that's what you need to be successful on Twitter. It's just lunacy. So I really do despise these people. Anyway, that was a 20-minute tirade, really, that's got nothing to do with Boris Johnson threatening to privatise the passport office. But the original point I was trying to make was you can be a northern Tory, you can be a black gay follower, a regular at Alan's snack bar and vote Conservative. You can be a no foot, head cleft palate, hair lip, disabled, trans, lesbian, and vote for the fucking Libertarians or the BNP. None of these fucking things have anything to do with the other. And I think the general public knows it, which is why nobody cares what they have to say, because it's demonstrably stupid. Their arguments are illogical, inherently illogical, and everybody knows it. So when AOC or any of these left-wing woke ideologues claim to speak on behalf of people, everybody knows it's bollocks. Like I said, it doesn't even work with elected officials, because AOC is probably hated by 70% of the people who live in her constituency. So even elected officials can't claim to speak for everyone, can they? So what right does a random homosexual man have to do it? By what right? None. Right? Trump, he was the elected president of the United States, not my president. Okay, so he's not your president, he doesn't speak for you. But some fucking random bloke speaks for the working class because the Guardian decided he does. Think about it. Anyway, let's do the fucking news before I start ranting again. So Boris Johnson's threatened to privatise the passport office if it does not start delivering better value for money, as sources said. And the BBC is pushing this like it's the end of the fucking world. This is why I was talking about Thatcher, because I'm going to get into it now, right? During a cabinet meeting, the PM is understood to have told ministers the high cost of services was affecting families ahead of the summer holidays. Mr. Johnson's expected to call its bosses for urgent talks next week. Yes, because it's affecting families ahead of the holidays. If they cannot promise better value, number 10 will see if the private sector can do it in their place. And the woke cunts, as usual, are freaking out about it. Right? So this, a source also said the PM made the same threat about the DVLA if it doesn't get its act together. And Mr. Johnson said to be concerned about how delays in issuing licenses has impacted hauliers and supply chains. So let me fucking just quickly dissect this for you, right? If you haven't got the brains that the gods gave a fucking goose, and you buy into this reactionary shit, and some of you guys are going to, because it'll be linked to the hatred you've got for Thatcher, right? Privatization shouldn't be a dirty word, and I'm going to explain this to you now. I lived in York, right? And 5 or 6 times, probably more, maybe 10, I went to the National Railway Museum because it was a great museum, and I quite like trains. I know it's a British stereotype. I like birds and I like trains, and I used to go in there. And there's a lot of fucking data and facts in the National Railway Museum, all about why the railways got privatised. And the simple fact is, the fucking trains were losing an absolute fortune because there were a government-controlled entity that, as they always do, was completely fucking useless, incompetent, staffed with lazy, self-serving civil servants, and it was not fit for purpose. So essentially, she had 2 options. It was either go through all of these hoops, probably where you've got activist lawyers and fucking snakes in the government working against you. Just think of the logistical nightmare with trying to reform a public thing like that when you're in government. And we now know, all of us watching this now know, every time you try and do anything, when it's linked to politics, you get your hands tied, you get clasped in irons and thrown in the fucking sea. It's almost impossible. Did Jean and Miller not prove it to you when we were trying to get Brexit done? It took like winning 9 elections to get the Brexit fucking shit sorted out. We had what? We had general election of promising a referendum. In fact, no, 2, because they also fucking promised it the time before that. And then we had the actual Brexit vote. And then we had, no, we're still not going to do it. And then we had another fucking general election. And then we had the local European elections, which Farage won by a landslide. And then we had the last Tory general election. And only then did Guy Verhofstadt, Elton John gone wrong, finally go on Twitter and go, okay, the British will leave the European Union. We had to tell them and tell them and tell them and tell them and tell them again and again and again and again. So how do you think a prime minister like Thatcher would go around reforming the trains when every fucking single time she tried to pass a law, why do we give these fucking wankers so much time off? Why do they get so much fucking sick pay? Why is it impossible to fire someone when they're fucking useless? Why do we have to tolerate incompetent employees? Why not, ladies and gentlemen? Controversial, I know. Why not forget about all that fucking shit and say, you know what? Sell the cunt. Easy, innit? Easy. And I'm not saying, again, because the Bootneck's a reasonable centrist chap and you all know this, I'm not saying it's the answer to all your prayers. I'm just saying you've got 2 options. If anybody knows of a third option in the chat, please tell me. If you've got a fucking useless government entity like the fucking trains or the Royal Mail or now the fucking DVLA or the Passport Office, you've got two options, right? You fix the fucking problem or you sell the bastard and let a private company fix the problem. And as we've just established, fixing the problem is almost impossible when you've got woke activists in charge of all the fucking branches of government and half of the fucking elected officials and most of the House of Lords and all of the lawyers and all of the judiciary and the Supreme Court and the fucking media who can drive public opinion and Silicon Valley and everything. What's option 3? Has anybody got one? It's privatize it or it's fix it. And fix it doesn't work for all of those aforementioned reasons. So you've got one. You've got privatize it. Oh no, I've thought of option 3. Leave the cunt and let it be completely useless and cost us billions and not be fit for purpose. There's 3. So really, I want a 4th option. Right? Is everything I've just laid out there not completely logical? Okay, so Lee Mack says fix it. So Lee may be another one who's, disagrees with me vehemently about Thatcher. How do you fix it? How? Any laws you attempt to pass to reform a government entity, especially in this day and age, perhaps less so now, is fought tooth and nail by activist lawyers, a corrupt judiciary, corrupt lawyers, corrupt politicians, bought and paid for, left-wing activists who say, no, you can't do that. I was arguing with some shit for brains on YouTube yesterday who was just saying, oh, the Tories want to get rid of the NHS and they want to get rid of workers' rights. And it was like, get rid of workers' rights. Like as if the European Union invented the fucking things. I was like, if anything, workers' rights have gone almost too far the other way, haven't they? Again, I'm not right-wing mad cunts. I'm not saying workers shouldn't have any rights, but it should be a happy medium. The old 2 verbals and 1 written warning, see you later. That seems like a fucking happy medium to me. But we haven't even got that now, have we? We haven't. Because every single day you read stories where it's like, this employee sucks. This employee never turned up for work on 11 occasions. This employee was caught wanking in the fucking snack bar. This employee called the boss a cunt. This employee fingered one of the girls behind a cubicle. And then we sacked him. And then we get sued, and then the taxpayer has to give him £400,000. Look how much Philip Rutnam got paid off by the fucking Home Office when they sacked that fucking useless twat. This is a man who's been in one of the highest seats in office when you've had suicide bombers scattering children up the side of fucking pop venues. Failed utterly. Let in millions of fighting age men who we didn't vet. And when he gets sacked, he bends me over because I'm a taxpayer and then fucking Rogers me with a prize-winning leak. This is the system we've got. So you're telling me we can fix the problem, can we? Really? Do you honestly think that is a sensible thing that you've just thought? We can just fix it, can we? We can just go in here. We've identified that the Passport Office is completely fucking useless. And you think what? We can just go in, march in there, Prime Minister, right, get me your 25 worst employees, we're sacking them all. You think we can do that? We fucking can't. What, half of you guys you're still working from home, still, because loads of these civil servants are, because the lazy, work shine, know nothing, piss-taking fucking middle-class wankers who've got degrees from fucking universities that fill their heads with cow shit and don't give them a work ethic or any common sense. And that's basically the employees of the fucking Passport Office. So how are we going to do it? Tell me how we're going to fix it. We can't sack them. It's not happening. We can't sack them. We can't discipline them. We can't get them to come to fucking work. So the best thing to do is privatize the bastard thing. And that's got its own problems, I agree. It's not perfect. What we're going to do? If the Passport Office is fucked, it's fucked because the employees are useless. Don't give me any other reasons, you fucking lunatics. I'm sick of people gobbing off about this shit. The NHS, oh my God, we just don't give them enough money. We've thrown money at the NHS for 30 years. It's not working. It's not a lack of resources. If the Passport Office is dog shit, it's not because of a lack of resources. It's the people. Are you a fucking lunatic? Have you ever had a job? This is what I tell these left-wing twats. Have you ever had a job? I work for the public sector. When I first left the car, I've talked about before, first job, working as a fucking driver for the bastard council. 50% of the employees were fucking useless. All right, no, that's unfair. Not 50, 30. 30% of the employees were fucking useless. One of them, I'm not going to say his name. I nearly said his name then. Ugly ginger bastard, right? Every single year, he'd take 6 months off for stress. I was there like 4 years and he did it 3 times. Every time. And again, you know what he used to say? Because we all know how to play the system. He used to say his wife had a miscarriage. And the first time it ever happened, like giving him the benefit of the doubt, like, again, this is all what a normal street smart bloke would do, who's not a cunt. So the first time it ever happened, I'd only known him 6 months. And they said, oh, so-and-so's gone off on the sick again. Oh, yeah, what's that? Yeah, he always goes off for stress. It's a government job, so you can just take 6 months off for stress. Oh, yeah, he's gone off for stress. Why has he gone off for stress? Oh, his wife's had a miscarriage. And I thought, well, I wouldn't take 6 months off for stress if my wife had a miscarriage. But, you know, we've all got different tolerance. So I can't have a pop for that. You know, maybe he's sincere. But when it happens again the next year, and every time he says, oh, it's because my wife's had another miscarriage, you instantly know that he's saying my wife's had a miscarriage, because that'll render the employees and the managerial staff completely unable to challenge the veracity of his claims. Because if you pick something that you know for a fact is an emotive subject, that's what they walk to all the time. That's why they always say, oh, it's a safety issue. You're disagreeing with me? Oh, why are you killing people? You're disagreeing with me? Oh, you're killing people. Silence. Oh, you can't be silenced. Silence is violence. Oh, yeah, well, why do you hurt people? When the Tories were trying to fix the fucking disabilities crack, where 1 in fucking 4 people in Britain's disabled. Oh, why are you killing people? It's the same tactics. You bring it up so people won't argue with you. So when this ugly ginger sloth-faced fucking mutant for the 3rd time was like, oh, yeah, my wife's had another miscarriage, I was like, here, if you have a miscarriage every fucking year, God does not want you to breed. You ugly ginger fucking cyclops. I'm telling you, if you've had more miscarriages than I've had fucking hot dinners, just stop putting your cock in her. Stop putting your cock in her. All your stress goes away. You hideous fucking mutant. Or at least get someone else to fuck her, because there's something wrong with your baby gravy. There's something wrong with it. As soon as it meets the womb, something in nature goes, my God, we cannot allow this hideous creature to fucking breed. So, sorry, abort. Warning. Whoop, whoop. Mutant Ginoc child attempting to pierce the womb. Get out. The body just flushes it because you're fucking howling. That's what the manager should have said. After the 2nd or 3rd time, you should say, you're a liar. Your wife hasn't had a miscarriage. You're fucking fired, son. Well, that never happens. And that anecdote is what I'm telling you is now going on with the Passport Office. You know it. You know it. I know it. We all know it. Anybody work for the NHS? I know loads of people who work for the NHS. Middlesbrough's got the biggest hospital going there because when you're from a shithole town, the government builds things there as a fucking jobs project. Nearly everybody I know works for the fucking NHS. And what have they all told me in the last couple of years? Half the nurses are fucking useless. Half the doctors are lazy, self-centered, self-trimming, selfish cunts. Shoot me. If you're one of these left-wing wankers who's going, oh my God, a working class person slagging off the NHS, our heroes. I'm not slagging off the fucking workers of the NHS because I'm an individualist. I'm a liberal. I'm telling you that just like soldiers, sailors, fucking police officers, teachers, and anything else, the NHS is made up of individuals. It's not some inorganic mass, a globule. And what I'm telling you is plenty of the NHS staff are brilliant, but plenty of them are cunts. Lazy, self-serving, fat fuckers who aren't interested in doing the work. And what I'm saying is, when we used to live in a meritocracy, it was brilliant having an NHS because when you got great employees, you would motivate them and give them carrots and give them promotions and pay them more money. And the NHS would get better and better and better and better. Because when you got an employee who was fucking useless, thick as shit, and a lazy, bone-idle, self-serving sponge, you fired the cunt. And you kept firing them until you got a good employee and then you kept them. So the NHS, if you want to take that as I'm slagging off the NHS, I guess I am. I'm not having a pop at individual nurses and doctors and porters and clinicians and fucking pharmacists and anything else they employ. What I'm telling you is a fact. Human beings are not some congealed mass. Some people who work for the NHS are fucking brilliant. And those people deserve all the praise they get, and they should get pay rises regularly, and they should get promoted, and they should have a nice fat pension, and they should have a great life, as long as they're good employees. But if you work for the NHS and you're fucking useless, and every time you clock on, everybody goes, oh, for fuck's sake, it's that useless fat cunt again. You shouldn't be working for the NHS. And my best mate, I was his fucking best man at his wedding, close to the family as you can get. His wife's a fucking nurse, and his sister's a fucking nurse. And both of them tell me frequently, yes, there's loads of useless fat fuckers who work for the NHS. So I'm sorry, that's just a fact. And if you want to get all offended and, oh my God, it's slagging off the NHS, crack on and fucking shit your pants and run away crying. But I'm right and you're wrong, and you know it. Because do you agree with your fucking neighbour on everything? Well, you must agree with him on everything. He lives next door to you, you cunt. No. You don't share any characteristics with your neighbour. It's the fucking luck of the draw. And the same goes for NHS employees, firemen. Some of them are fucking useless, lazy cunts. Coppers, some of them are useless, lazy cunts. And even, dare I say it, bootnecks, who, although, because we have an extremely rigorous selection process, that's why you narrow the aperture and you get rid of most of the wankers. But guess what? You can't make the nurses crawl through the nettles for 4 hours and then run through tyres on a fucking assault course in the snow. So unfortunately, because there's no rigorous selection process in the NHS or the police or the fire department, you've got a higher percentage of wankers. But yes, indeed, I'll agree. The Navy, I've met plenty of cunts in the Navy and I've met plenty of wankers in the Army. The more weak your training gets, the more wankers you get. And the principle's the same. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about the armed forces or the NHS or the fucking teachers. How many useless teachers are there? You seen that libs of TikTok where you've got some teacher going, I'm a white witch, children, I will teach you about spells. That cunt shouldn't be running a classroom. I wouldn't trust it to run a bath. It shouldn't be running a lemonade stand, a bath, a fucking egg and spoon race. And these useless twats are fucking training kids and filling their heads full of cow shit. So, yeah, yet another rant, but I'm sorry, the short version of this fucking story, if you want to read it yourself, is simply this. We either gut the civil service and sack hundreds of thousands of incompetent twats and actually start cracking the whip and rewarding the reliable and punishing the useless, or we sell the cunt. Sorry if that upsets you. If you're an anti-Thatcherite scouser and you've been trained by your parents to hear everything she stood for, you give me a better opinion. You tell me how you'd fix the passport office without privatising it, and it has to be feasible. Because remember, if you just say, sack all the thick cunts and hire lots of clever people that work hard, we can't do that, can we? Can't do it. Because the woke lawyers run the fucking world. The woke lefty establishment runs the fucking Home Office. So you can't do that one. So put that from your mind. Your choices are twofold. Leave it as it is, fucking useless, or privatise it. Done. It's everything. DVLA, every fucking thing. Digital passport, probably. But everything's shit. Why do you think ultimately we don't live in a meritocracy anymore? Is the short version. That's why the passport office is shit, and the DVLA is shit, and the NHS is shit, and the schools are shit, and the universities are shit, and the police force is fucking shit, and the fire department's full of blind, disabled, lesbian, fucking cleft palate, club foot, couldn't carry a fucking milk bottle down a ladder, let alone a fat bloke that's on fire. This is what we're dealing with because we don't live in a meritocracy anymore. We don't. We need to go back to a meritocracy, and we haven't lived in a meritocracy since the fucking 70s. If you're fucking shit, you should get fired. If you're lazy, if you're incompetent, you should get sacked. We've got firemen who are fucking claustrophobic and scared of fire. We've got coppers who can't police the streets because they can't lift a leg above the waist, let alone chase a fucking 6-foot black man with a meat cleaver. And we've got fucking nurses who don't want to nurse anyone. They just want to go outside and smoke tabs while all the people are on the hospital wards going, I'm fuck nurse. And you've got like 3 nurses looking after them because they're the hard-working ones, while 5 of them are outside chain smoking. because we don't live in a meritocracy anymore. Good employees should be rewarded and useless ones should get sacked. And until we go back to doing that, everything is going to suck, especially the fucking passport office, the DVLA, the council, and anything related to the government. Because out of them all, the most unable to fire people is the public sector. At least some private companies will still do it, but the public sector's fucked. And every one of you knows it. Every one of you knows it. The public sector is fucked because we don't live in a meritocracy anymore. All right, so done. I'm done with that one. I'm done. Let's do. Oh yeah, I'll do this one. I was going to briefly talk about, but this is just not interesting to me at all. I was briefly going to talk about this fantastic story: Antarctica same-sex wedding, first on British territory. Yeah, nice one. 2 ravers are getting married in the fucking snow. But who cares? Who cares? All I wanted to talk about that was to say this is another example of Douglas Murray's look at me people, isn't it? Because why the fuck? By definition, you want to get married somewhere nice. And you want to have plenty of guests there and loved ones. By definition, these 2 fucking choppers have picked somewhere that's Baltic, sub-zero. Your family aren't there, just a bunch of random fucking sailors. There's no reason why you would want to get married in a fucking Arctic tundra unless you're a look at me person. So these balmy cunts are just proving Douglas right, aren't they? The family aren't there. The fucking scenery's shit. You're freezing your tits off. Your nipples have gone blue. How's your gay lover going to tweak your nipples while he's rogering you from behind if your nips are going to fucking drop off? It's the shittest idea ever. So it's just fantastic evidence of these look at me people. Let's get married somewhere absolutely dog shit because the BBC will put us on the website for a bit. Nice one. Nice one. There's no point in icy butt plug. It'll melt. It'll melt. Once you've had a good pounding, all them muscles will be taut and smouldering. It'll melt. So you can't even do that. So these lunatics have just done that because they want everybody to look at them. So what a load of shit. And the BBC's dutifully obliged and made it a fucking story on the homepage. On the homepage. You go on bbc.com, that's the first thing you see. 2 fucking blokes get married in the snow without the family. Nobody there who actually knows them. Fucking faceless, pointless, shameless wedding ceremony. What a load of shit. So they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. The family aren't there. The friends aren't there. It's fucking Baltic. Just because they want to be on the BBC. And how old are they? 50? 60? Sad bastards. Fucking sad bastards. Fucking shocking. Look at them all. What a bunch of fucking wankers. So yeah, bollocks to them. Don't care. This was one I was going to talk about. Justice for Sheila. Kenyan anger after lesbian's murder. Right. So I just want to bring this up because it reminds me of something Douglas Murray talked about and I want to cover it. So basically, as you've heard me say many times, what is obvious, a demonstrable fact at this point in time, is that, yes, in the 60s and the 70s, white lads had an advantage over, straight white men had an advantage over women and gays and minorities. There was so, I'm not going to get really into the numbers and say how much of an advantage it was, but I will give them that and say, yes, in some ways there was an advantage, right? Because we were living in different times. But the overcorrection started occurring in the 80s and the 90s, and you got Stephen Lawrence's murder. And ever since that sort of stuff started kicking off, we had an overcorrection, and now everybody knows the overcorrection has gone far too far, and it's evidenced by numerous metrics I can point at that prove it to be indisputably true. The figures from the BBC regarding immigrants' chances of going to university compared to the white working class in council estates up and down the country is perhaps the single biggest piece of evidence that show this to be the case. Black African boys on free school meals are 10 times more likely to go to university than white working class lads in council estates. There is no better metric than that to prove the point that we've had an overcorrection, and now the white working class male is the most stitched up group in the whole of the UK. That's a fact proven by the data. You can also look at the deaths in police custody. Even though they cause more crime, young black men are far less likely to be killed in custody or to die in police custody than the white working class. And I can count it numerous different ways of proving it. I can prove it in 1,000 different ways, but I'm not going to bother because you're all sensible enough to know that what I'm telling you is self-evidently true. Well, here's another example. Douglas Murray pointed out that some of these people who come out now as being LGBTQ plus IA fucking whatever are not. And they're doing it because they now know that it's a currency and you can get more treatment, more praise, more money, better treatment, better working hours. They might let you work at home. Oh, I'm more stressed out than my straight colleagues. I've got to put up with all this stress. Okay, then you just stay on your fat ass for 6 extra months. It's currency now. If you can tick a box on the victim hierarchy, it's currency. You're better off being gay, black, brown, Islamic, Hindi, Sikh, midget, obese, anything that puts you outside of the straight white male category gives you more and more points, more and more currency. So you've now got millions of fucking straight people lying about being LGBT. That's why it proves the narrative as false. You've got black people you've got white people pretending to be black. Like fucking Talcum X. Everybody's read about Talcum X, right? Sean King. I've got more of a tan on my left testicle and it doesn't see the sun very often. He's not fucking black. No fucking way is he black. He's white. Both his parents are white. You've got that Rachel Dolezal. Both her parents are white. They lie about being black because everybody knows now there's currency to be had if you can put yourself on the victim pyramid. You know it. I know it. Right? A fact. I don't need to go any further. Dig up any more numbers for you. So this one reminded me of just another example. It's even taking place in third world countries because there's this big story on the BBC 4 days ago by Esther Agola. Justice for Sheila, hashtag, obviously it's trending on Twitter. Kenyan anger after lesbians murdered. So one woman gets murdered. Oh my God, rights groups are calling on Kenyan authorities to investigate the murder of a non-binary lesbian. Oh my fucking God, we have to do something about it. We have to do something about it. We have to get more black lads in universities, but they're 10 times more likely to go to university than poor white lads. No, but we have to do something about it. But what do we want to do? Take it up to 11 times more likely? Yeah, that's fair. That's equity. No, that's 11 times more likely to... Shut up, equity. Well, here we go. So the rights groups are getting involved. Everyone's fucking kicking off. Justice for Sheila. Oh, my God. Nobody deserves such cruel treatment. Poor old Sheila's body was found, according to LGBTQ plus IA groups. Fucking hell. In Kenya, a country where gay sex is illegal. Whoops, just drop that in there. Nobody really seemed to mention it beforehand. And we've got to do something about it. And we've got to move heaven and earth to sort this problem out. Well, let's just have a quick look at crime in Kenya, shall we? Should we just have a quick look out of morbid curiosity? Crime in Kenya. There's a high rate of crime in all regions of Kenya, particularly Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, and coastal beach resorts. There are regular reports of attacks against tourists by groups of armed assailants. Did you hear about any of that? I'm just curious if it's so bad being a lesbian. Did you hear about any of that? No, I didn't. So even when it comes, so it's not just the little things like you're more likely to get a council house if you're black, or you're more likely to go to college if you're black, or you're more likely to have your crimes investigated if you're brown, or you're more likely to actually have the state give a flying fuck about you if you're disabled or obese, or you're a fucking follower of the religion of many, many pieces. Even if you get murdered, you don't really matter anymore, unless you're on the victim pyramid. If you get murdered by a group of armed assailants in Kenya, they couldn't give a monkey's fucking fart. Be like, brum, brum, hello, my wife's just been decapitated in Nairobi. Yes, but was she a leser? No, she's my wife. Hello, murder. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. And they can put it however they fucking like. That's where we are. The university statistics prove it. The crime statistics prove it. The police, the deaths in police custody prove it. The economic statistics prove it. And poor old Sheila, who, of course, at no point am I saying this is not a fucking heinous crime. Anybody who commits a murder should be fucking strung over the coals for it, because I'm not a woke cunt, and I think people should be very aggressively dealt with by the courts. So at no point am I in any way saying that poor old Sheila doesn't deserve some justice. But what I'm saying is it's just one more piece of evidence, the final piece of the puzzle that proves unequivocally and beyond all doubt that the best thing to be in the modern day is anything other than a straight white man. And if you can get around it by lying and saying, like so many of them are doing now, oh yeah, I'm bisexual, I'm massively into cock, while secretly shagging women left, right, and centre, do it. Do it. I mean, obviously, you've got to have no morals, no honour, no fucking soul, no interest in looking at yourself in the mirror and being proud of the man that stares back at you. Obviously, you can just be a weasel rat bastard. If you're lucky enough to be a weasel rat bastard, tell everyone you love sucking cocks. Tell them that you're massively into cock and you hate tits. Step one, lads. What else can I give you? I'm trying to help the young working class white men on the council estates out now. You've got no chance of getting into university, boys. You're fucked. You're high and dry. You don't matter. The rich matter, the middle class matter, and then the LGBTQ plus I, black and brown people matter. And then we're down to like what? Rats, earthworms, ticks, leeches, white working class men. That's you, boys. You're on the bottom fucking rung. In fact, you're not even on the bottom rung. You are subterranean. They've dug a hole and you've joined Mole Man's nefarious legions combating the Fantastic Four. That's where you are. So think of something to tell people you are. If you want to go to university, tell them you're into fucking cock. Tell them you love it. You might not look even remotely like it, but it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's 2022 and the woke are in charge. You might look like me. Tell them you're a woman. Tell them you're into cock. Tell them you love practicing the religion of many, many pieces. But, you know, it's a private thing. So you don't want to talk about how many times you go to fucking the Bell End Church. None. Or how many times you eat bacon sandwiches. Loads. Or how many times you get pissed. And do all the things Ash Sarkar does while she claims that she's a devout follower of mighty Mad Mental More. Oh yeah, I'm a mad follower of Mad Mental More. How often do you pray? How often do you drink cans of Stella? Fucking loads. Oh yeah, cheers. Cheers, Ash. Cheers. So yeah, you know what to do, boys and girls? Please, boys and girls, play the game. Use it and abuse it. Tell them you're a woman. Tell them you're a leser. Tell them you love cock. Tell them whatever you want. Because that's the only way you can get, oh, well, Dave, you're doing it wrong. You can tell them you love big tits, but you also tell them whilst you're being rogered by George Michael. Say, I fucking love looking at a canny set of tits whilst Ricky Martin's dug up my shit box. Tell them that, that's fine. I'm trying to teach you lads, make your life better. Play the game. Because everything the BBC says is upside down and back to front. You're not better off being a straight white man. You're better off being anything but. So do that. I love tits while I'm getting fisted by Elton John's boyfriend. There. Do that. Sorted. Cambridge, Eton, Millionaire Palace, the fucking lot. Smash the like and smash your shitbox. Right, anyway, I'm going to call it there. That was a good little rant, wasn't it? Seriously, just read that story. It's fucking mad. Murder and death and destruction and rape all over Kenya. And only when you happen to be LGBTQ plus IA does anybody give a monkey's fuck. You couldn't make it up, could you? You couldn't make it up. As I said, clown world, upside down. Left is right, up is down. The grass is blue and the sky is green. The fucking world's gone mad. Right, thanks for watching. I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Cheers.